Okay, so let's get into the session. The teachings that came through this morning, which are realizations, that which my higher self, my soul brought through to me, deep realizations. I will continue the conversation that we've been having and do the step right into the soul streaming now of sharing and session. So we will go over what already has come through, and then we will take that further. All right. Anchor in, anchor in. Make space for us. Focus into the column of light. Trust that all the truth will be revealed. Knowing shall come forth. And again, I'm starting to. That's another part of it. So you've also noticed that there's more slime, more coughing and slime production, and it all ties into what is flowing through the knowledge that is coming through now. Yes, we are gathering our senses, we are gathering our energy. Our awarenesses in the body and pulling them into the central column of light, that neutral space. This neutral space is free. It cannot be pulled into all kinds of directions or anywhere when it is free, when it is anchored and released from the bondage into the prison of so I'm getting now the prism of lie, the prism of lies, the prism of illusion. Yes. Filters. Ah, and I can feel it in my belly now. Yes. Huh. Knowledge doesn't come in the ways as you expect. It doesn't come directly. It doesn't come directly and straight in the sense of the conditioned mind and the male side of the brain, because the knowledge is coming from inner knowing, and when it is not known yet consciously, it comes first from, and anyways, it comes from your soul, from your spiritual self, from the higher frequencies of yourself. So it comes through as intuition, and oftentimes, as it has again this morning also for you, in your dreams. And yet when we wake up in the morning, so often it is, and we are speaking, so for the listener, it's going to be the suggestion is to listen with the right brain, to listen with the intuitive mind, to open up to, and this is also what the code does, to open up to the intuitive side of the brain. And this is not about discarding the the rational. It is not about discarding, but it is to set that first, to allow that to come first. And this is also allowing, this is the image, allowing for the goddess to come first, the feminine, the receptor, because the receptor, the right, is it the right brain? The right brain, the feminine brain, it receives the soul. It receives that higher frequency knowledge of self, that guidance that comes from your higher self, or your spirit guides, or yes, it receives that, and allow that to be received into the belly of Eve. And we will be speaking about the belly of Eve. And then this will, when it has been received, this will then formulate in the rational mind as understanding. But first we have to, if we are, as we are conditioned to be, only in the understanding mind and trying to receive directly from the understanding mind, then there is this gap, then there is this confusion. Okay. And notice also how all this that is happening within you, all the subtleties that you are noticing in the physical body, in the energetic body, how it has its direct reflection in the outer, in your field. Yes. So that means the calmer you become, the more of yourself you can draw into the column of light, that where you are free, where you are in the standing wave, which is an alive flow. And the flow is, however, almost, it's in stillness. It is in stillness. And that allows for peak performance, that allows for all left and right and the winding paths to flow optimally, to flow harmoniously, to flow without confusion and collateral, without bumping into each other. Yes. And then that becomes a dance and a play. Just like our lives then also become a dance and a play, so smooth. Nothing is in adversity. Nothing bumps into each other. And that also means that every relationship, every encounter, every meeting is sweet. We will guide you. We are guiding you. Yes, we are guiding you. So we come to the guidance system, the Valley of Eve, to what has come through this morning. And especially we want to share this. And it is still in the beginning stages of formulating in the way that it comes through. And because you are still bringing it, of course, into that balance of how you receive, and then how you express, and how the left and the right hemisphere of your brain works together as one. That is not a given. This is still an in training process. So that's why you stumble sometimes, because you are sharing it. You are sharing it as you are guided to share it. And so the way that then you speak is, of course, different, a little bit different in the wording and in the expression of it than if you were just alone and when we are in conversation, of course. Yes, so notice this. Notice that what is coming back is the nose wing is itching again. The the lots of clearing is of the throat is coming again. And yeah, this is all going to. And the butterfly, yes. Yes, Temple of Innocence. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. The water crystal, thank you. In all innocence, in all innocence. Yes. So in all innocence, that refers to what is happening, yes? And okay, so let's get into it. So you have noticed many things have come through this morning. So you've noticed that yesterday, in your preparations, you have, coming home for the first time in a very, very long time, you noticed how the OCD was triggered. So OCD is syndrome. What is it? Obsessive compulsive obsessively compulsive syndrome. And that is when, and so there are several how that expresses. It is, oh my gosh, I've done something wrong. I have not optimally, perfectly done something. And the belly, there are like these tentacles in the belly, and they flare up in stress. They flare up in stress. The whole body is put into stress, and it's like, oh no, I have to correct this. So you were preparing the apartment of your folks for them coming back from their trip, And then there were a few things that you realize you didn't do as perfect as you wanted to do them. And then you backtracked. Oh, why didn't I do that? Why did I do it this way? And the field opened up of insecurity again, of this not sure, steady flow, guided flow. Yeah, but why did I do it that way and not this way? I have to go and correct it. And this fear, but can I correct it in time before they come back? And then, so fear, stress, and also this is regret, and regret, and oh, why did I do that wrong? And this self judgment and the self, not punishment, but it is a punishment when we keep going over the regret, like, oh, darn, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't perfect. I didn't do it right. Oh, why do I always do it wrong? This. And that is an energy where we are then caught, and it's a self-perpetuating, we're then caught in this net. And then that's an energy that flared up or flares up. This is now describing this OCD process and what it all is in relationship with. Also, what comes through is now, as you see, that the way that you are relaying your expression is insecure. It's not flowing as securely. It's not flowing as securely. You are not relaxed. Your body is not relaxed when the OCD is flared up, when it is triggered. Now, it hasn't been in a long time. And all of a sudden it came. And so a couple of factors came up. Oh, why is it? Is it the situation? Why? Is it because I want to make everything perfect before they come back? And then that triggers me. So there are different components. And then you realized, the other component you realized was that it's all coming together. Another thing you haven't experienced, a symptom you haven't experienced in a very long time, and that is the word that fits is fibromyalgia. Because of when you read about fibromyalgia, what you heard about it feels exactly and fits exactly the symptoms that you feel. Yeah. And all is in the belly. The belly is also like bloated. Yeah, so it's bloated, and it feels like there's like a like cotton, like a spongy pathways coated like cotton layer that is very tender, that is almost like it's infected, like an infection, a layer of that in the belly. Mm-hmm. And that it has to do with parasitical life forms. So not, as you know from Anthony Williams, so that you don't cause more confusion in your relaying, not the actual parasites, because an actual so-called parasite, when you have that, you're very, very, very sick, and you're on the your body is then fighting for its life. These are parasitical organisms. These are smaller life forms that act as parasitical. They have they behave. They behave in a parasitical way. So that is all that you need to know about it. It is a sense of how the body seemingly acts against itself. It's what they call autoimmune disorder, where the immune system acts against itself. However, as you have correctly been informed by Anthony Williams, you know this because this is resonates with what comes through. The body never acts against itself. Yes, yeah. Mm. And as you know, you feel this now that it's true, because when you speak truth, there is this cooling and this peace that opens up. Mm. So we are going to explain this. So there is the psychological component, which is the outside situation that triggers it. And in reality, it all works together as one. It's not, when there is a trigger on the outside, it's because it's already happened on the inside. The inside is the smaller realm, and it is until it is triggered in our field that it then we become aware of it. And when the sound has reached a certain strength, then, inside, then it has that capacity to reverberate and reflect back. And then the triggers come also on the outside, and then it completely flares up. Then the up flare is, now it's there. Now we can't deny it anymore. Now it's in the awareness. It's a reverberation. That's the trigger. Okay, so now what came through then this morning, all the dots connected. You have been eating a lot of sugar, so in the form of sugar cane, even though that it was mostly organic and non-refined cane sugar, but also some refined cane sugar, or where you are not sure how much refined it is. Anyways, so that cane sugar, which is that has been an ingredient that you haven't had in your diet for a very long time. And you have been consuming it a lot lately. So that is one physical factor that you notice. Then the other physical factor was that yesterday your mother had this cleaning liquid that you quickly used, which also was very toxic, and instantly you had a reaction to that. It's like the storm gathers. There are many things that gather and come together in the belly of Eve. So then yes, so you have been noticing that you've also been eating a lot and too much. Too much for your comfort. So you've been coming from, again, this hunger, right? This addiction, you've been coming from that. Yes. Mm-hmm. Eating more than feels good to the body, because there's something there that is like craving. Yes, craving. And what has it been craving is the sugar. So if you're at night craving, and then you make, for example, a batch of spaghetti, because you don't feel like having a fruit, and you don't have anything sweet, you don't have any chocolate. So you make spaghetti because what? Because in the sauce that you put on there, even though it's organic, all organic, there is sugar in it. And so this is the key, is the sugar. When the kind of sugar is the cane sugar, and especially when there is a form of, when there's a little bit of refinement in the cane sugar, when it's white, that, because refinement always means it's less whole. And whatever is stripped of its wholeness is hungry for its wholeness. Yeah. So when you started to reintroduce after a long time white sugar into your system, and then whole white cane sugar, and then whole cane sugar also, that was the moment that it started again, this craving. The craving built, it started to build, yes? And it is this ingredient that feeds whatever is left in your belly, in your gut, of these organisms that are the fallen organisms, that are vibrating very, very low, that are working in a parasitical manner against themselves. Yes. So it is not the body that works against itself. It is these organisms, and they can only be alive in a lower frequency and in acidity. This translates in the body in acidity. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And foulness and toxicity. So, and when you eat too much, and when you then also take in the sugar, these little pockets can, where it's not completely clean, where it's not, where the, digestive system and the detox system, it just can't keep up. And then on top of it, with the chocolate that you have been consuming a lot, every time we introduce any kind of oil or fat, it's not in the sense that it is, if it's a good oil or fat, unhealthy. However, it slows down, it undermines the optimal function of the liver's ability to detox. So that means the body is not detoxing as fast as you are putting it in, or as it's already there. And then on top of it, you are bringing in food that is feeding these organisms that have still been lingering in some places, in little pockets in your gut. And this is a representation in the physical of, this is how we're bringing it home, also where you have aspects of yourself. Okay. Ooh. Aspects of yourself that you have that are not that. Okay, wait, hold on. What does it mean as aspects of your mind, aspects of your consciousness? Mind is always connected into emotion. Mind is I am, is identification. Identification means You are coming from a certain perspective. You have a certain look upon things, understanding of things, and reception of things, of situations of knowledge. So you have a certain filter, or a certain perspective, yes? And when this perspective is through a filter and through an angle that is not in direct flow harmony, where there is something between it and your soul, what is coming through the female, the right side of the brain, when there is a distortion there, because that's what we call the conditioned, the egoic conditioned mind. Yes, where that has a flavor, a spin, an angle of that is attached to an identity that is not open, has not opened up and received itself and recognized itself as soul. And with that, the higher knowing, wisdom that comes through, understanding that comes through, and also with that, the knowing and the sense of infinite, okay, so connection into infinity, connection to source, connection to your source. And when that is distorted, when there is something between an aspect of consciousness, which is awareness of I am, and I am like this, and that means an awareness of, or a belief, because this is not awareness. Awareness is that openness, that clear seeing. So it is a belief of holding yourself apart, coming from holding yourself apart unconsciously from that connection into, which is alignment with, flowing in harmony with, being able to listen, to hear the guidance, to feel yourself as soul. And then it holds itself in separation, and it holds itself, then the basis is fear. So the basis, if the basis is separation, the basis is fear and anxiety, which doesn't have to be in awareness as fear and anxiety, because we're used to it. That's what we've been conditioned from small, from young age. So we are used to that, and we don't realize that we're running the whole time on, we haven't been realizing that we've been running on fear the whole time. And that is a denser, it's a slower spin. It's a slower spin. It's denser. It's more density. So as you know, as the spin rate is rising up in the ascension of Earth and the coming in to the DNA from through the sun, and yes, through the sun, these from the other suns, the higher frequential, and all the suns from the galaxies, they are waking up, communicating. They're doing the same thing is happening. This awakening to oneself as the great whole, as the great one, all the way to the level of the universe, is happening everywhere, and it's being related, it's being relayed. And this is frequency. These are the solar winds, solar storms, the light waves, the light rain, those high frequency waves that are coming in. Spinning, activating our DNA. Yes. So back to the belly of Eve and the fibromyalgia and the obsessive compulsive disorder that you have had. It started in you when you were 6 years old and you got your first mercury fillings. And this was such a poison that went into the brain. So this is also a connection into the brain. What we are relaying this morning and showing this morning also is the power of how consciousness is the ultimate healer, and why we can, yes, we can was heißt ansetzen, we can come to it from the physical alone. Yes, so we can come to it from the physical, but what we want to show is that if the consciousness aspect isn't there, it is like it is a struggle to solely heal this. When we only, let's say, only work on the physical level, like cleansing the gut, not eating any cane sugar at all, meditate, or yes, okay, that would already be okay. So staying only, let's say, only on the what we consume physically, only in the physical realm. And as you can see, my relaying is, again, it's bumpy. It's because it has it's flared. It has been triggered. So I'm like, okay, this is a bumpier ride. Yeah. And this is very good because it's bringing all of this into your awareness. Okay. The characteristics of OCD is that insecurity, yeah, and that it's tiny little things, tiny little things become very, very big, very, very big, and that have a big effect, because what is it that flared it up? If you if you relay it to this, what is the situation that brought about such a big physical change and stress level that was triggered in your physicality? Was simply that you cleaned the floor with this cleaner that your mother had, and then the floor was sticky, and you didn't, because you didn't have gloves, and you didn't clean out whatever. We don't want to get into it. It is tiny little. That's the characteristic of OCD, that is like, oh, I haven't laid the placemat exactly in the right direction. I have to, and then this unproportion, it is out of proportion, that we then will go out of our way. Even the feeling is, I need to go back to their apartment to fix this, even if it's just like, I mean, this example is an extreme. I need to go back to the apartment to lay the placemat straight. I didn't do that. That's OCD. OCD is so strong that it will make you do things that are completely out of proportion in relation to the thing itself, so that you that you need to use. Sorry that my speech is so, yeah, that is so bumpy, but at the same time, I'm in the middle of this, and so it will help. It will help to bring this understanding forth. okay, so energy that you expend is out of proportion to the actual matter at hand that you apply it to. So you have to use so much energy to do something that doesn't make any difference. Yeah? Okay. Now, this has to do with these organisms, with these, and this is what they show me this morning. This has to do with these fallen organisms that have become stronger and built their pathways. This is the fibromyalgia because they've been fed. And they want to be fed. So that's where the addiction then also comes in, where you once you start it, you want more and more and more. But we've been saying about that that in tiny little pockets they were still there, even though it wasn't triggered for a long time. You've been free of it, but because it's come back, because it could come back through the sugar, it means there was still a little bit left inside. And how do we, okay, so this means the little bit left inside, the little bit of, still there was a little layer of your consciousness that wasn't aware of itself. Yeah. That holds the frequency of, in the body, it's the representation of these organisms that have fallen and they don't know any better. They work in a way that is going, that is not flowing in harmony with the whole. So that is why it is ill. It is fallen ill. It is ill at ease. And so this morning what came through was belly of Eve, ill. And then we have evil. That is the fallen, and that is when it inverts and works against the system. That is that adversity within self. And that is where, so as we were explaining before, that filter of the egoic mind, where there is separation still perceived, where actions, behavior still come from a place of insecurity, and because they come from a place that is not anchored in truth, anchored in oneness, because the soul is anchored in oneness. See, so now you're feeling that it's, first of all, you're feeling that coolness and peace is spreading in your body as this clear truth is spoken. And now you just felt how, like, from the heart into the throat, it also rose. Yes, energy rose. And it's like you got a lump in your throat because something is clearing in your throat. So it feels like, and from the heart, a lump in your throat is like crying, but it doesn't go that far. But that's that mechanism. And then crying is the release of it. And crying is when it's being released, when we come back into that alignment, and back into oneness. Also, what you've been noticing is, ever since the OCD flared, is this shaking. Yeah, it's the shaking of the nerves, the nervous system, and it's and then also in the speech, and it's this insecurity and unsure-footedness. It's like you're walking on slippery ice. That's also how it comes through in the language of the words, you know, ooh, walking on slippery ice, and that, all of that also needs muscles, you know, so that you don't fall. And it needs muscles, and then they cramp up too. So it's like every system is affected by this. And because there was still a potential, and now we show you why, you know, because you asked yourself, why did I use that spray, even though I knew, first of all, I didn't look through every single cleaning bottle that she had, but I could actually tell, and because I know my mom, that they were all going to be toxic. And I just looked at the bottle and it said, you know, the calc, you know, these calcium rings, yeah. And I just used it, and it was so, you know, I had to cough, and it was so, like, it was astonishingly toxic. I did not expect it to be have that huge an effect on me, on the you know, breathing, yeah. And why did I use that? I knew it was toxic. Why didn't I just use water and, you know, maybe a little bit of hand soap? You could not think clearly. And this is the other part that comes in when the belly of Eve is affected, when your gut system is affected. You do not have clear guidance, and it is because these organisms, they can only live in the pockets, you know, that are fallen in a low frequency, that are acidic, and they are the representation in your mind of unconsciousness. So in your mind, these are pockets of unconsciousness. And just as you slither and slide and are on unsure footing, that happens in your consciousness, where you slither and slide around them, and you are not clear. You are not of, you do not have all your senses with you, that you think straight. So then you cannot think straight, and then you are not guided by wisdom, you know, by your inner guidance. What is the best thing to do? Then you have this other factor, these unconsciousness packets. And where there is the unconsciousness packets, they're like bubbles, and when they when they push into the awareness, we are blind. We don't feel, we don't see, we don't, and then on top of it, we are not aware that we don't feel and we don't see. That's what unconsciousness is. Yeah. We are not aware that we are blind, we don't feel, we don't see, and then we make stupid because we are stupefied, yeah? It's it's not there. Awareness is not there. Behaviors and decisions that are not a decision. It just happens. That's the thing. It just happens. Why did I do this stupid thing? It just happened. I didn't think. But the thinking is, you know, that's what happened in the thinking process. The thinking process was not clear. It was not in alignment, as oneness, going hand in hand with intuition, with knowing, with wisdom, with truth, with aligned with source. So that is the I am, and that's clear guidance. That's the clear guidance system that would say, toxic, not a good thing. How about we just use some water and with a tiny little drop of hand soap, and then afterwards we dry it, or go over clear and then we dry it. And anyways, doesn't matter, but it would have then been a smooth ride, and we would have done it in a way that we do not have to second guess. We do not have to, it's like not that we go back and say, oh no, that wasn't good enough, I have to correct that. No, it's like it's an organic flow that is in harmony, where we make the good decisions. And so the gut is the guidance system. That is our guidance system. Also, me now noticing that I am itching again here, the nose, and here on the side. That's because it is triggered, and that this has also to do with the pathogens. Yes, pathogens that feed these parasitical behaving organisms. Rogue, yeah, bacteria, yeah. Which is bacteria are organisms at they have a certain frequency bandwidth. They're like in a certain microscopic, they live in their universe, in their reality, yes. And there are the good ones, and all the good ones are the ones that's part of the immune system. They work for the good of all. They see themselves as, they perform, they behave, and they perform in the way that they are made in the image of God. So in the way that they were created, they perform their task. They still remember what their purpose is, and they know what to do, and they do it in alignment with with the body. The ones that have fallen so low in frequency, and then don't have that, they're unconscious, they don't know that anymore, and they don't feel part of that whole system anymore. And then that is what is called, or what people call, service to self, versus that conceptual expression of service to self, service to others, which we don't subscribe to, we don't like, because we find it misleading, because it is not a service. It is an apparent service to self. It is not a service at all. It is destruction, and it is the service to, if you want to use that word, service, it is behaving against life. That's what it is. So behaving against life, is that any kind of service? No. It is destructive. And it is behaving against life that they don't know. And in their, however, unconsciousness, in their minds, it is, you can say it is a service to self. They are serving themselves. So in that sense, you can say that they are serving themselves, but that is not the truth of the matter. And we are looking at it from the truth of the matter. They are actually not serving themselves, because they are serving an idea of themselves. Yeah. Okay. So an illusion. That is what they are serving, an illusion of self that is not part of the one, that is not part of the whole, that is not part of the body. And their base frequency is fear, because their base is unconsciousness and separation. So now the calm comes in. The more that truth is spoken and seen, so you were already ready this morning. After this was coming in, you know, the from your dream, soul was coming through, recognition was coming through, da 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 da. It was all opening up. You were understanding, and then instantly, because that was a very high frequency, you bumped up against again this. You know, and you said, okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go back there, and you know, you wanted to fix it, so you bumped up against the OCD, and then that took a hold, and you wanted to fix it. And then you realized that you weren't meant to do that, and then all of this now, and then you opened up again to the. As soon as you go back into the OCD, it also becomes difficult to express clearly and in a flow. The insecurity comes in. Yeah. So as we were saying before, now that it has come to awareness, of course, you know the effect of this cane sugar, for example, and that and you know that it also means that there was still a potential within you. There were still these little pockets where they could stay alive, and instantly, so when they get fed, you know, they grow and it flares up. And this was important so that all of this can come into awareness, and so that the little pockets that were still there also come into awareness. And that means also the parts within your so the parts within your mind that are still at that low, that are still holding on to beliefs. And so they're holding on to belly of Eve. Believe belly of Eve. They're holding on to this is from this code came from Elsa, beloved Elsa Dillon. Yes, we don't want to put the we we don't want to take her peacock feathers and stick them in our hair. Yeah, okay, so that's all right. It is one spiritual organism. That is why these, when it jumps over and it opens up. So when one code of one person jumps over to you and opens up your own code, yes. So these are keys. These are key codes. Yes, it is one organism awakening itself. That's what's happening. Yes, beloved. Yes. So there was still a potential for this OCD. And that potential was calling out as it was being triggered through the high frequencies. And it was being triggered because there is that discrepancy. And they start to feel that they're like on the verge of dying. So they start to feel very agitated. And they then get you to reach out for these things that feed them, because they haven't been fed in a very long time. So that's when you started to introduce, once again, you know, chocolate. And the other thing is wheat. So cane sugar and wheat. Wheat is, you know, or gluten. Gluten is the other. that feeds them. And this is direct experience, and this is, yeah. Okay, now the other thing that happened that's just coming in now is that yesterday you ate. You have been, but then yesterday there was like a big fresh you shaved the lime and you ate the whole shave from the whole from the whole lime. You ate the whole shave fresh. Just put it on a spoon and just swallowed it. And instantly, that's why you got these instantly a cold sore, this little, what is it, like a little bubble in the inside of the lip occurred like seconds later, because it's this is a sign for the pathogens, and it was immediately, it was triggered, or what is triggered, it was fighting for life, fighting for life, because it was attacked, or yes, it was attacked. Okay. Now, belly of Eve ill. So that's where Eve ill comes in. Eve, the original goddess. The original, which is what? The feminine principle, the receiving of that. It's the chalice. It's the chalice. The receiving of the higher frequency self, soul energy. Yes, soul, the receiving of soul into the body and into the mind. That's the feminine principle. The expression of that in the body and in the mind, that's the masculine principle. That's then the God within. Or the expression of God. Yeah. There's lots of pieces coming in now. But there's more. There's more. This is how we heal the OCD. This is how we heal the fibromyalgia. So as it is triggered, experienced, yes, experienced, triggered, it comes into awareness. So then we make these mistakes coming from, unawareness, belief that is unconscious, holding on to that, yeah, as we explained before. And we make bad, so we behave that in ways that are out of balance, exactly, and that bring forth more falling out of balance, because that's what these organisms, they have fallen out of that balance, exactly. Yeah. And then the focus in the OCD, when that gets flared, it's completely on these organs, like they take over the whole field. And then you can really experience the impact that they have. And when you are no longer free. In the OCD, it's a prison. You are no longer free. You are forced. You feel like you are forced to do these things, these corrections of the imperfections in the outside, and it's eating up all your energy. When the actual correction that wants to happen is that awareness about what is really going on opens. And then the corrections are made as to, oh, okay, I will on the physical, from the physical level, I will not eat. So I will not eat again I will leave it out again, the sugar and the gluten. And then at the same time, on the other hand, I will introduce even more of those helpful, supportive, cleansing materials into the body, such as the lemon rind or lime rind and all the other good stuff that you know of. Fruit, vegetables in raw form. So that you come again to a place where you do not crave these things, because that's what's going to happen. However, if you have not if you only address it from the physical, and there are still pockets within your mind that you see in your mind that hold this perspective, so these are aspects of you. It is so your soul is your energy. So these are parts of your energy that are still running the inverted currents, and the inverted currents are where we see ourselves, where we are still coming from a perspective of separation from ourselves, from where we are where we are not aware that we are soul, and that we are held in the ocean of God, that we are one with all. So in other words, where we are still coming from fear. Yes, beloved, yes. And this OCD is a strong fear. It's because all stress is fear-based. All stress in the body is fear-based. And we project it, we say it comes from this situation, from that situation. That's how it seems, yes. And in a sense, okay, that it's an expression of that. But it doesn't it's not the source of our stress. It is a reflection of our stress. So how to change it? If we don't change it, if we don't, again, that word, if we don't make the change at the source, can't think of the English word. It's okay. It's all right, darling. It's okay. You can say it in other words. If we don't change it from the inside and from the source, first of all, then the change on the outside will be much more difficult to perform. And second of all, it will come back until the inside has been changed. And change, as we showed you this morning, as what came through, is knowing. So change comes through knowing. If we change only on the outside, but the knowing hasn't opened, we haven't opened to knowing. So I see these bubbles now, these bubbles of unconsciousness that are in a belief that is in the illusion of separation. Yes, low frequency, low vibration, denser. If they haven't popped, and then everything within them recalibrates and realigns, and that's also when the toxins, that first of all, then the organisms in the gut that are in reverse, that are parasitical, they can only live within the frequency that is held in the mind, that in the mind is that holds it in this belief, in this low frequency. That is the expression in the physical of acidity, like too much acidity, acidity too much, because we have a balance of when alkaline is balanced with acidity, then we have the homeostasis, which is like that's the standing wave. That's the I am. I am, and there's no fear in that. And then we navigate harmoniously, and we are in our power. Yes. And that is also when we take that is also living from the column of light, through the column of light. That doesn't mean that then the Kundalini, because we're coming to the Kundalini, that doesn't mean that it's not existent. It's not existent. The male female frequencies, and they don't spiral and wind anymore and dance and play. They do, but then they do it in peak perform. The body peak perform, it expresses in the physical body as peak performance. In the energetic body, that then the waves, which are spins, the vortices in the water that moves the water, that makes the water flow. These revolutions, these spins, so one torus is full. Think of the babushka dolls. So one torus is full, then it can flow into the next, and then that there's nothing in the way, no sand in the machinery. When that's fulfilled, the next torus, it goes into the next, and into the next, and into the next. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and that is also what you call within the chakras a climax of the chakras, because the spin has picked up. And the waves now, when they can flow unobstructed, it picks up more and more and more spin. That means it picks up more of yourself, of ourselves. And that means that we bring more and more spirit into matter, spirit into the denser physicality, which is why then the physicality it straightens it out, it brings it back into balance and can peak perform. That also means that the anatomy peak performs, and then the spiritual anatomy, which is the spiritual anatomy, it moves into the subtle bodies. So now then what happens is we become haptically aware. It spills over the torus into the aura and into the next layer of that. That's how the sequence continues, always into the next greater torus that we inhabit. And that is that means our mind. With that, our mind gets expanded. Our view, the more that our perspective is expanded and anchored in the not in separation, but through the 0 point of each chakra, of each torus, of each part of the organism. Always the 0 point, which is in the middle, in the center, which is that perspective of neutrality, that bird's eye view that is not anchored in it's not anchored in fear, it's not anchored in illusion. That's what we call bliss, is when we feel that happening. And that's also what we call embodying our soul to ever deeper levels, until we then bump against the next limitation, the next where there's something in our field that we haven't brought back home into that anchored knowing, into that true knowingness. And the anchoring is through the heart into the belly, of course, all the way. And now we come to the Kundalini. Into the physical would be all the way into the first chakra, into the root. And that can grasp roots. Then when even the first subtle body, when the first subtle body can flow all the way into the root, it can be expressed through every single cell of the physical body. And that's, and that's bliss. That's that, and we feel so spacious. And it's like it vibrates, it shakes the fear out. But not that it's fear, that it's a thing that then gets detoxed or so. No, it shakes itself, and that which was in that askew point of view and taking on a belief of self that is not anchored in truth. So in the lie, the prism of lie. Yeah. That gets corrected. It gets realigned. It gets recalibrated. That's what that shaking is. And then there is no more fear. And then there is truth. And that is total peace and knowing. So we come back to knowing. Yes, hold on. Oh. So we work on it. It comes through from all the directions. We work on it on the physical. Okay, so now it came to our awareness. Now we know, stop the sugar and the wheat. Which, sugar has been more lately. Wheat, very, very little. But as you can see, it's all relative to your system. In your system, it was already enough to introduce 1 bar of chocolate, even though it was organic and it had only the raw form, the unrefined form of cane sugar. Nevertheless, that was enough to begin another falling, okay, now it falls again. But why did that have to happen? Or why did it have to happen? Why did you reach for it and buy it? Because it was calling. There was still something within you that was calling for it. And that needed to receive attention for you to bring it back up, because it's not just in the physical. There is also still aspects in the spiritual, in the mind, that haven't woken up yet. And this now brings it back into the heart. This brings it back into the heart. Okay. And now we bring it, now what comes is the other aspect that came through that belongs to this, because we are also talking about prana, life force. So these are words that are used, and the whole palette, or not the whole palette, but we will bring some of the palette. Prana, chi, ki, life force, vril. Yeah. Kundalini. There we go. Kundalini. That is important. That is important. For the code also. For the code, yes. All concepts of mind that are pointing to that same energy, the life energy in our body, in the physicality, that comes from the soul, that is the soul embodied. Okay, we're going to have to pause for a moment here. When we bring, so okay, hold on. Don't worry. You're good. You're good. You don't have to rush this. It's okay. I'm always also thinking I'm sharing it. I don't want to make the video too long, you know, and then that's putting pressure, and then yeah, yeah. Eile mit Weile. Eile mit Weile. Which means rush with the time it takes. Rush coming in, a lot of stream coming in, with the time it takes. Yes. So that is not available to the system, to the whole system. That is not available. The pockets, yes, the beliefs based in separation, which is illusion, the illusory self. The illusory self is not available to the I am. So it takes away from the I am, which makes us less ourselves, our true selves, and the true expression of who we are. And it takes away from, so it makes us insecure. And it is those pockets only that are enslaved, that can be enslaved, and that can be subject, and of course are in our system, and having being conditioned to also mind control, because they are not controlled, because they are not anchored in truth. They can be controlled from the outside, from another mind, but it is only a mind that wants to control, where that is an agenda, where that is a desire, a need, a want, because it actually comes from a need, because it's coming from addiction, because it's coming from separation from one's own source. That's the only source there is. So separation from source, and that's what we also call the separate egoic mind, and that is what feels the need to control others and to manipulate, and all means will be will be used to do that. And so lies, that's where the lies come in, because it's based on a lie. And why is there that need to control others through manipulation? Because there is no, where there is that, based in separation and fear. Oh God. Based in separation and fear. There is no flow of energy. There is no, you're not connected to source. So you're hanging high and dry, just like the parasite, that's the same thing like the parasitical organisms. They cannot, they don't like that which nourishes the body, that which the body likes, that which supports that which supports the body. They don't like that. They're addicted and need to eat all the things that do not support the body, that have a lower frequency, that support that inverted current, that support the falling of the frequency in the body, and that supports the producing of an over, coming out of balance, and then an overproduction of acidity. And when you notice your nervous system flaring up like that, and you can feel it right now, and you can also notice it when you drink the water and you hold it in your hand, there's a little bit of a shaking, and there's a little bit of a shaking in your mouth as well. It's not visible yet, but that's where all the shaking and that's where that comes in. Like old people, they shake. Not all of them, but yeah. It's that insecure. It's not being anchored in truth. It's that insecurity. Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's where Parkinson's. That's what that is. Mm-hmm. It's like Parkinson's is when it's so strong, and yeah. Mm-hmm. And of course there's other ways to where how this is expressed, but yeah. Okay, so control. Yes, why did because they can't stay alive. The way that they stay alive is they need more of the stuff. So their energy is, you can say, destruction, is that which is destructive. Their energy is low frequency. Their energy is, it doesn't come from within, so it has to, first of all, it has to come from without. And that's why the controlling of others and the manipulation of others, that it's not an empowering, it's not a supporting energy. It's not coming from love and wanting to see, that's not coming from this consciousness. First of all, it's of course unconscious. It's not coming from the consciousness of I love this being, I want to support it, I want to see this being um, in I want to support the balance in this being, and I want to see it flourish. It doesn't think about the being. It is only thinking about how it can get its next fix, and that's not even conscious, and the fix is low frequency. So this is also in the exchange, in the relationships, it is producing, controlling others so that you can get your fix of low frequency from them. Of course, this is an unconscious thing. And the low frequency comes because nobody likes to, everyone, because freedom is that standing wave, is that peace. Freedom is where we can be ourselves and where that can flow out without obstruction. So that's freedom, and where that's not being thwarted and obstructed from the outside. As soon as we feel that we are manipulated and controlled, or we do not have freedom, in the smallest way, it is a bad feeling. Instantly, our frequency falls, and then that in a relationship, that will then be the food for the one that is coming, that is the one bringing this forth, that is the one wanting to control. There's a difference between, now if you think about parents and children growing up, and how we are conditioned by our caregiver, our prime caregivers, but then also by the system, by every family, of the whole, everything around us. There is a difference between guidance and control. Guidance always comes from love, but it can only come where we ourselves, okay, so if we are the parent, where we ourselves are anchored in our truth and receive the guidance from our source. Otherwise, we cannot guide our children. Truth, that is truth spoken. Yes, word. Oh, okay. Yes, beloved. Okay. We have to, there's still this part of with the Kundalini, that and the belly of Eve, we're bringing this all home. Because we're making this, we're sharing this with beloveds who will have access, who will be drawn to watch this. Yes. Okay, let everything go, because when you're under pressure, then it's like deer in the headlights, and that's when it goes slow. So we actually have to regroup, recenter, and let that go. Let all of that pressure go, that you have to bring it home very quickly. Yeah, it takes the time it takes. Allow it the time it takes. It's a session. And the full worth, the full quality, the full power can only come through when you allow yourself to be anchored in that peace, gathered in the truth. And that takes its time. So don't go thinking about, oh, this video is getting too long. Okay, so or let that go. Let that go and come back into present. So we let everything go now. And remember, you're doing this as you're you still have these organisms within you. So it is that's the sand in the machinery, the flare up right now as well. But at the same time, it is also making this session, it brought you to sit in this session in the first place and bring through this awareness. So it is also a very powerful component. Because you're in the middle of it, experiencing it, yes. When we come back into the knowing, into the belly of Eve, that is the knowing. That is when the soul has reached the belly. That is that, yes, our higher frequency has reached the belly. And to anchor it in fully is into the root. How does that feel? So, do we want to go? And yes, the Kundalini. So in the past, when this energy, because, okay, so first, the belly is our creativity. And it flows, it comes through the heart, it flows through the I am. So the I am is known, is there, that's awareness of self, of true self. Then it flows into the belly of Eve, that's that creativity. And the Adam is creativity expressed, creativity received as Eve. Adam is creativity expressed, the physicality of it. That is the belly of Adam, that's the physicality of it. And bell is a bell that makes a, like the bells in heaven, that makes a beautiful sound. Think about the bells, and it means beauty also. Yeah. And it also means be all. Be all. Oh boy. Think about Sunday, the Sunday churches, when the bells ring, that those waves, that that clear, it's like a sound healing that happens over the land. That was the purpose of the bells and the towers. The true purpose of the bells. Oh, so beautiful. Yes. It's to realign the frequencies. It has to do with the ley lines, the currents, the energetic, how the energy runs over the land. But also, not over the land doesn't mean that it's on, there are those in the ground, but there are also those that are higher up. So think about it just like, we have the physical pathways in the physical body. We have the blood veins, the rivers. And then it goes into the auric, the subtle bodies. So, and it is first in the subtle body, and then it gets expressed in the physical body. Now think about the mind has a body. The mind has a body. It's the mental body. So that is why when in the mental body there is already there is this distortion, there is this off balance, there is this non-anchored in truth. Oh God. It's coming out. That's why you're extremely now the throat is agitated, because as the truth is coming through in the which means knowing is opening up, and that means it's like detox. It's as we said with the bubble, it opens up and recalibrates, and that's what that coughing is. That's why oftentimes when shamans when they work on people, they have to cough. So that's what the bells are for, and also the organs in the churches. What they were for was it was the healing of that subtle layer. Yes. So there are the different bodies. Now we don't want to go into we haven't memorized this anyways, but you do know at this point there is the mental and the emotional body. Mm-hmm. And that is that's within the auric field. That's where your physical body is more subtle. And so it begins mental, emotional. It comes before it gets manifest. The subtle bodies, so the first it's off in the frequency, in the energetic. It starts to already be off. Because it starts in that mind. It starts with, and that is why these sessions are so important, and what they bring forth is by resonance coming back to knowing, remembering the truth, and that is recalibrating it in the mental, which recalibrates it in the emotional body. So now you're working on where it like you can say the root of it, where it manifests first, where it is present first, before it then, because the higher frequencies, they rule the lower frequencies. That's in the way we were conditioned is to believe that the physical, first of all, is not even. The energetic doesn't even exist, and it doesn't have an effect on us. It's just the physical, and we only work on the physical. And also the conditioning is that working on the physical is the most powerful, when it's the other way around. It's working in the subtle realms that has the most powerful effect on the physical, and then just as Byron Katie said, heal your mind, and then the body follows. Because then it becomes, once the knowing has come back through of what is really happening, and how can I come back into balance? How can I heal this? How can I come back into well-being? Because this is all about coming out of suffering and back into well-being. That's what this is all about. Because then we become bells. We become beautiful, and we sound in a way that heals our environment and recalibrates our environment, supports, empowers, inspires. Because we are now the vessels, because we are the chalice. We are the feminine, the goddess has come back, has wakened up again. That's that intuitive brain that we receive our soul. We can receive that we can receive source, all the way from source, all the way from God, through all the flowing through all our multidimensional layers of self, which are our selves in ourself in higher dimensions, the babushka dolls, the tree of life, the multidimensional soul. Yeah, we're the tip of the iceberg. It's not a different soul if you go up the vertical line from you. It's not really a different soul either when you go horizontal, but it is in the tip of the iceberg expressed in a different individual soul. So it does have then just to bring that in real quick. Don't want to confuse things, but that's when we okay. That's when we can also meet, like you with Elsa, meet ourselves. That's the sense, that's how I feel. Meet ourselves in another. Even though at the same time, there's not even though, at the same time, so there's another individual soul. But when we go into the vertical, into the higher dimensions, that's the fractality of souls. That there are the soul clusters, the soul groups, the soul families, the monads, which are called the oversouls, that are greater souls with more factors. So this is not what this video about. I talk in so many other videos. I talk about that. I explain that. I show that. So belly of Eve has fallen ill. Ill is when you turn that around. It's you could say live, but lie, but that's not what. Okay, so what I'm getting is Lee, yeah, and my name is Leave, and it's life, live. There you have lie, Eve, Lee, Eve, the goddess, right? Life and the goddess. And you Lyra, also Lyra. When you turn that around, it's ill. And the L, the L is also El, God, Elohim, and L is also love and life. So when you say this, it's connected. You can feel how that is connected to something good, to something that feels good, right? It's very soft, and it goes through the throat, and it comes from the belly of Eve. So Eve is also, it sounds Eve, but it's EV. So, it's EVE or IVI, and you say this a lot. This comes through in your light language, is this EV, and it's balance. That's the acid alkaline, also balance. And when it's balance, it's also the balance between fire and water, the sun and the rain. It's when that center opens up and the column of light can stream through, where we are in our center, and then the dance, unobstructedly of that kundalini, of the kundalini power. And we are in our power. So now we come back to also what came through in the dream that we gave you. And it's only a little bit difficult because you have already, and this also brings it back to what already came through in your previous videos. But it is important to bring this part of it, as part of, this is why it is coming, because you have been praying, you have had this blockage in your I am and in your solar plexus chakra, and you have the block, yeah, might still be some there, yeah. So have and had, have been having, but it's, now this is what we're showing you, is that it is the process of dissolution, and this is what you've been praying for. Please, not that way, but you prayed, you called in the healing, the dissolution of these blockages that you felt so strong within the solar plexus and within the sacral chakra. Now, the sacral chakra is your creativity. The creativity can only be expressed freely when the goddess is alive, that receptive flow, when the receptive flow is open. Receptive to what? To truth, to yourself, to that which comes from within, to intuition, to inspiration. Inspiration means you receive the breath of God. You are inspired means that breath has come through you from within. So when you are in addiction and taking the breath, which is wait a minute. It's actually not a breath, is it? Well, okay, let's not go staying with that image. Well, what has been happening is, as you are working on the code, which is about also the I am activation key code, which is about activating your female side of the brain, activating your I am, activating, the balance within you again, to be receptive of your soul and realigning yourself. This then is also in the belly, you receive it as inspiration of creativity. And as you sat down to bring that into the atoms, into the physical, to write it on your computer so that you can then eventually, when it's full, when that torus is full, relay the code. You already started it. You have 3 videos where you already started relaying the code, the I am activation key code. You fell, however, back into a groove, a pattern that is over-dominantly male, and came away from that receptive creativity because you went too much into trying to figure out history and into the thinking, that male mind. It wasn't in balance anymore. And you could feel that because you were, it was hard on you. It was getting very taxing. And you weren't really, it wasn't flowing so well in the code. And you could feel that you were not enjoying it. Yes, not enjoying it as much anymore. But there was that feeling inside of you because now you're at a point in the code where you're where it's about history, what happened in history, and there was this. I need to know. I want to know. I want to know the truth of what happened in this history, in this part of history, and this frustration that it's so hard to, what really happened, the frustration that when you go looking for it in the outside, it is so complex but also complicated because everyone says something different and has a different perspective on it. And so you get confused. You're looking for clarity, like what happened? What is this? And especially the question, were these good people or bad people? Did they have good intentions or bad? Is this part of the manipulation? Is this part of the distortion? Because that's the only way, if we are not in the know, that's where we are standing on a platform that is not anchored in truth. And also the difference is it's not alive. Because the separate self is that illusion, it's not alive. But it holds itself alive. It's not like lively alive, yeah? It holds itself alive only through lies. It needs lies to keep itself in that bubble, to keep that bubble going of separation. It's based on lies and it needs more lies, creating more and more and more and more convoluted confusion. And of course, for those that represent within the collective, the parasitical organisms, the controllers, they need to spin these lies well aware, even though they're not aware of themselves in truth, not fully. They are aware within their story of themselves, within that bubble. They have a lot of awareness, yeah? They have a lot of knowledge and intellect, yes? These are the players on that are the players that are putting this field, that have constructed this field. Those are the bigger players. Then that are controlling the smaller players, yeah, that are keeping that inverted matrix going. And as we're talking about this, we can feel it happen. We can feel it mirrored in our body. And this is a self that is where we are playing out. We're lending our energy, we're allowing that unbeknownst to play out within their game so that they can keep their game, which allows them to keep their lie alive and their forms. And that whole form of life that is feeding, 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 always on the outside, but it has to be the inverted. Because obviously, why do they don't like the organic current? Because the organic current is alive, flowing, knows itself. It is connected into the source. And that would mean an instant detox for them, which for certain forms at the peak, at the tip of that iceberg of the inverted, is instant dissolution. So in other words, death, but it's not actual death. It is the death of that form that has been the whole time living in this illusion of self. But it would be the instant death of that form. Yeah. Which is why it's so hell bent on keeping this way. But that only has a force on us where we are not in the know. In the knowing, which means awake, knowing I am soul. I'm not separate from God. And that's the true I am that is anchored in truth, where we are in our full power, completely immune. It's like living in a different frequency, living in a different timeline, and not even having, much. The only place where we can then be still obstructed is where we have not liberated ourselves, where we have not brought ourselves back home within, back into our hearts. So that when we speak of back into our hearts, it's like the emotional body. So we have the mental body of recognition, we have the emotional body of the heart, of the feeling, but not the sensational feeling. It's the coming from love, that highest frequency of the emotional body, where all the colors that are in harmony with love, yeah, they are clear, not dense down, which is why we call it shadow, when it's completely dense down and in the inverted flow. That creates what we call shadow, the opposite of, if you so will, a rainbow. It would be a shadow gray bow. If you take that image, the inverted currents. Yes, because the inverted currents, now I don't know if this is just how I get it, how I get it. Now I don't know if this is like scientifically what they call a black hole, but the inverted currents, they turn it's where the spin reverses from the organic spin in the opposite direction, and instead of keeping it in the whole organism in that rhythm, it pulls it out of the living organism, of that oneness. And that pulling out, how does it pull it out? It's through a suction process, and the like where that begins, the spin to spin in the opposite is that black hole. That's a black hole. That's what they also call holes in our aura, and that actually looks black. It's like a black vortex. It's a black vortex, and it pulls the color out, so it's like all gray. And that's the gray men in Momo, and it's gray aura. Yeah. Oh, phantom matrix. Yeah, phantom matrix. So that's the realm of the phantom matrix, and then all that energy also is what is keeping the phantom matrix. That's the ultimate on the universal level, um, keeping that going, and keeping that as a perceived reality. That shadow reality. That's why it's called phantom matrix. A shadow reality, keeping that going. Hmm. And where there is that the threshold from what is still alive within us, and when there is soul in the body, there is still life. It's what keeps that going. But the threshold is where misery, suffering is produced. In that, when it gets inverted, that's the feeling, that's the experience of suffering. And everything, all the emotions, everything that feels bad, which that's the overall word I use as suffering. We still haven't brought it. I know. We're coming to that. We're coming to that with the Kundalini. Or shall we do that in a different video, because this one is already so long? Let's just stay with the belly of Eve, and finish this, and then we'll do a separate video. The other thing that is important that came through with the Kundalini, even though it's like a part 2, it belongs to this with the creativity. Yes. And we take a break, and then we'll do it's part 2. Okay. Have we now shared everything with creativity back in the flow? Fibromyalgia, yes. Parasitical organisms, the mental body, the emotional body. What is the emotional component to this feeling of that what feels infected and tender, that layer of what is the fibromyalgia? These that miasma layer in the belly. First of all, it's an expression of how we are separated from ourselves. We cannot receive creativity, and we cannot express creativity, and then we feel again we are also enslaved, and we have to do all these things we don't want to do, and that we're stuck. Have to do these things that we don't want to do, like in the OCD, where there's like a focus to that is very, very strong, where nothing is perfect, and we have to, however, we have this compulsion to make it perfect, but on the outside, because really the problem is inside. And the more we try, this is again how it works. And now OCD, think about it, everyone has it. That is conditioned in this world and is still running some of those currents. But the OCD is when it's in people where that particular aspect of it is expressed, has gained like a huge focus, and then where that is like a tick, like it has created its own groove, and exactly. So everyone has that groove, but it's not this expressed in everyone that it goes to the point where we feel forced to go out of our way and expend so much energy to bring back into, to perfect what is in our minds on the outside, imperfect, like just a little, placemat that is not right in the place, or a tiny little crumb there lying on the floor in the corner. We can't continue with whatever we were doing before we do not go out of our way to take that tiny little, it's like that. We are a slave to the subtlest imperfections that we perceive on the outside. So that's when that mechanism, exactly, that's when that mechanism is so loud that we call it OCD, and it has produced this groove and that we keep falling back into. But this mechanism is in everyone. Just not, just more, not to the point where it's then it's this syndrome so strong. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So bell is this sound, the healing sound, and beauty. So we come back to when we come back in alignment, we come back to beautiful expression and receiving creativity, beautiful creative expression that goes hand in hand with the atoms. That's what the expression is into the physical balance. Then it can flow freely from Eve to Adam, from receive. So Ra is the sun is the greatest portal in the physical that we have on the outside to source, and source being in the physical the grand central sun of the universe. On the inside, the Ra is the quanta, the quantum, or the quanta, or the soul spark, or the God spark, or the infinity portal through our hearts. But also we have these portals in every single torus, so in every single life form, so in every single cell. It's just greater and greater life forms. The heart is the center life form of the body. When that stops beating, it's boom, it's done. When that falls, it's done. It's the heart. First 8 Genesis cells in the heart that never change. They do not get replaced from birth till death. So that's the major portal. That is where we're connected into God directly. Yeah, let's not go into how that's possible. We have the cyborgs that only have, a part of the brain, that pineal or so, and yet that a soul can attach without there being an actual living heart. Yeah. So we're not going to go into that, how that is possible technology, because that would, but suffice it to say, it's not in, it is not negating your understanding of the heart and its importance and its role. Because that is where we feel love. And then it spreads, of course. That is where we feel love. Be all. Bell. Because E and A can be interchanged. Receive. Re can be raw. See and Eve. So see is the clear seeing. And as you have learned yesterday, whether this is true or not, but in the archaeological, anthropological, and etymological, so this is now again the male side of the brain, etymologically, dragon, and what was the other thing? Dragon and king was like the same root. Yes, dragon and king, so serpent, lion, and king. Because the dragon, yes, exactly. The dragon stands for the Kundalini energy, um, which is when our soul is embodied anchored in the root, so anchored in the body. And when that energy comes up into the through the throat into the pineal and then the crown, that is when we are crowned king. That is when we see clear. That is when we express our truth, because we see and in our hearts we are loving and compassionate, because there is no fear, there is nothing obstructing the I am. And so has to do with growing wings, and also wings is lightness and freedom, and energetically, these are wings, and that's shown when you see wings. And that dragon is the snake, because the Kundalini, so the Kundalini, the symbol. Okay, now we do come back to this, because here came through this morning, like, so the symbol of Kundalini energy, which we also say there are different names for it: life force, prana, ki, chi, vril, life force, and so forth. Yeah. So the symbol for this energy, which we call life force, is the two snakes, serpent energy. Why you have experienced at one time, because at the root, it's down here where we have the two indents, in the seat, and one time you actually felt a sensation on the one side where they say the Kundalini energy is, and where we have these indents, and you felt literally how it felt like there was a little snake inside that was uncoiling. So you have heard this a lot but never experienced it in your body, and then one morning you were lying in bed and you felt it move, and then after that a blissful just a beautiful feeling, but on so many layers began to. It was subtle, it was only a little bit for like a second or two, and only on one side, but that was enough for you to realize, now I know why they call it the serpent energy, because it felt like a snake, like that was coming alive and beginning to uncoil. And connectedness, images of that were given from your soul, was all coming through. It was all coming through. Creativity, it was all coming through. So, dragon and king, same meaning. If you go back in the root of the word, in a certain root language, what was it? Where English comes from, Indo-European, which is the Indo-Germanic, which is Sanskrit, is Indo, and then Germanic. That's like one of the root languages. Crown, yes, crown king. Mm-hmm. It's okay. So wait, let's go back. Receive, ra, exactly. So receive. Mm-hmm. That feminine, the chalice, because the chalice is the receiving feminine principle, and flow of current, flow of energies comes in. So I go like this because in the mental body, it's through the right side of the brain, yeah, the female brain. And I guess that then is that is the receiving in that chakra of the third eye, but also the throat, which is that part of the brain, that pineal area. Okay. And the receiving always happens within. The receiving comes through the center of the torus, which is always the sun. That that, and the receiving of what? Energy. What is that? It's soul. Energy is soul. Chi. When you go outside, what is chi? Is soul. It is soul of all the nature, but also all nature, all creatures, all animals and insects. And also, chi is the soul of the nature, what we call nature spirits, which are they're existing at a higher frequency, but they can of course only exist when nature has a certain balance. And can then receive the higher frequency expression of it, receive its soul, but soul of because of course we here in the physical express the tree, the plants, the insects, the animal, we receive our soul, but to what degree and how obstructed is it or not? And the question is always, is it well? So is it coming from its source? Is it connected into the source in the well-being? So is it in alignment with source? And can that flow unobstructed? That's well-being. That feels good. And then it feels good in nature. It feels good out there too. And when that has a peak performance, it opens up to the higher dimensional expression of nature, which we call nature spirits. And that's chi. That's a high form of chi. And the same can be that can be reversed, because animals and these nature spirits, they have an emotional body. I don't know about plants, if they have an emotional body. I don't know about that. But if the plants are affected, it affects directly the emotional body of animals, and then us as well. But first, before it affects us, it affects them, the nature spirits. And so when they're ill at ease, when they fell ill, then it rolls over into us, and we do not have this. We do not feel the chi. We do not feel the life energy. And it can feel heavy. So this is what happens when it comes out of balance. And this happens with not just with toxins, but also with when suffering has been experienced in an area. That pulls the energy down. It pulls the energy down, the frequency down, exactly, of all of it. And then the plant growth, and it's all affected. And it's not just growth, it's also quality. You can taste it in the food, how much chi was there. It's total, and you can taste it and feel it, how nourishing the food is, depending on how it was grown and how the atmosphere was, how much chi there was present. So again, the receive belly of Eve, and then the receiving through the through the suns within, and there's a mini sun in our heart. That's our quanta. That's our sun. So we receive our soul there, and it then shines through. That is then received by the other portals by the other suns, which are minor than in the other chakras. The part that I'm not sure of is that perhaps this chakra, the pineal gland, that chakra, although the pineal gland, I don't know if it's third eye or throat. And there are different glands, right? So a little bit lower, I learned that, Jacob's ladder, well, we're going to go in the code, we're going to go into that, but that it's part of the throat chakra, and then it rises into the third eye, and then the third eye, that's the throne of, is that the throne of God? I think the throne of God is the crown, that's when it's crowned king. Yeah, Jesus. Let's leave that as the Christ, exactly. The Christ oil, when it rises all the way to the crown chakra, you are crowned king, and energetically, the energy that's the halo, and it's very subtle, but it can be seen by some. And when it's not that subtle and you're in the dark, it can actually be seen with a normal eyes. I've seen this. And when it comes into the third eye, that's the mercy seat. That is the mercy seat. That is the Ark of the Covenant. That is the seeing clear. Okay, so that's the seeing clear. So when we receive like the raw data, right, the raw self, which is raw, is unobstructed, nothing is changed. It comes direct, it's immediate. It's the immediate, pure, open reception of self. Of light. That's what a sun is a portal to light, yeah? To the source of light. That's what the sun is, the portal to the source of light. And the source of soul. Soul is consciousness. Soul is light. And then we have the receptors, which are the chalices. And our whole body is a chalice. And then the finer bodies are chalices for individual expressions of that light. Yes. Then the sea the chalice is also a sea. Yeah. So it's not just clear seeing, which is etymologically where the word king and dragon, what that means is the seeing, is clear, not just seeing, clear seeing. So what we have with the sea is, what came through in the code, is the bottom of the sea. And the bottom of the sea is this part here, right? That would be this part here. And think about Isis, having this thing here. And it's the sun that is sitting at the bottom of the sea. And the bottom of the sea is also the bottom of the, because the chalice is a container of water, if you so will. Also, what is the sea? What is the ocean? A container of water. A body of water. How can water have a body? It needs to have a container. The bottom of the sea is also the bottom of the heart. We see clearly. And then Evie is the I, because E can also be, the letter E can also be I, because it can sound the same. We say E to E, but we also say E to I. There's many ways to see this. This is all the code that has been coming through. Which I will go more into when I relay the code. But Evie, this is the part that came through this morning. Now, is when that I, now we're talking about receive and belly of Eve, when that I flows through the V, unobstructed, and comes out the other side, and then it's V, and V is life. So Evie is that flow of life, Eve. The V is also a V. Okay, this is all, I'm explaining this all in the code. The V is the same as the chalice, yeah? The V is the receiving, is the feminine principle. And V also means life. V in French means life. And so more to explain more how this code, I will do that when I relay the code, but right now let's just go into what came through with receive, what the code of that word is. Yeah. And that is the belly of Eve, because it receives. When it receives, when it is open, and it can only receive when it is unobstructed, so when it's clear, when it doesn't have the fibromyalgia going on, when it doesn't have the, the or where it doesn't have, because it's never black and white. I mean, even though at some point you will be completely physically clear, yes, but now we're still in the process of, when we're still in the process of clearing, and there is still a little bit left, as there was within you, as is being shown, then yeah, there are those parts that can receive and the parts that cannot. And they are then sand in the machinery of receiving inspiration, guidance, and then creativity, which is a creative way of thinking, which is creative way of being, which is original. It is original, and it is creative, is always, if you find the solution, then you are guided by your soul. There is always, it's like water. It will always find the least path of resistance. It will flow, be like water, my friend. It will find the way always into the flow, into freedom. Freedom to be free. To become Belle Eve, beautiful life flowing into expression. Belle Eve. Sound. Golden sound. Golden sound. Because a golden bell is the highest form of a bell, the clearest sound, and has the highest conductivity. Interesting. So what has happened just in this moment, just to share this. So, I have this wall here that is it's like with spatula, and with calc, I don't know. It's not this kind of a wall, yeah? It's more, it's a natural stone. Yeah, it's a natural stone wall, and it has this calcium patina layer. So it's not even, yeah? So there are these crevices in the stone. And I was just, now my eyes saw, because first I'm just having the focus is just streamlining from within. So it's not on the anything actual on the outside. But now I took focus, and what I could see clearly in this patina was a sphinx, and the head is Nefertiti. The way that, and I saw that yesterday because I was looking at I was watching from Robert Zepper, was looking into a video he made on Nefertiti, but then I realized I don't want to watch this. It doesn't feel good because it was too much in that, coming from that. It was all this left brain, you know, it was all left brain, and it just created more confusion, and it didn't sit right with me. So I stopped watching it. And when I was a child, I would do this all the time. That's why I was never bored, because especially I would be in the bathtub until my mom took me out, and bless her heart, she let me stay until my lips were blue. That was usually around the 3.5 hour mark. And I did not perceive, you know, I was in the zone, and we had, in the 70s, we had this, it wasn't wallpaper, it was like a plastic thing with just random patterns, and I would always, just like in the clouds, I would always see things in these patterns. And like when I, for example, when one time I was in an ayahuasca ceremony, and then that third eye, you know, it gets opened up, and then you see this everywhere. You have a different, you know, you have a different, well, different. Is it different, or is it really more deeper sight? Then you have deeper sight, and you see the patterns, or you see these images. You see it everywhere. So, and then I realized, and also with cannabis, this can happen, that it's more seeing. And then I realized, oh, when I was a child, that was natural. I did this all the time. I did this all the time, and I didn't, you know, and I lost it. You know, it got, well, we all lose it. We all have it as children, and then we all lose it because our attention is being drawn into the male part of the brain completely. You know, that's the patriarch. That's the time of the Kali Yuga, which is a completely masculine dominated time span of cycle. Yeah. Okay, wait. Yes, and the code, because the code belly of Eve came from Elsa, and you know, her parallel self is Nefertiti. So, and then yesterday the documentary I watched, and then you know, what I watched with the Kundalini and the dragon. It's all coming. It's all coming together again. It's all coming, and that is when we're back. You know, we again fell out of the inspired, receptive part of the brain. That is the soul, receiving the soul part of the brain. That is the intuitive part of the brain, our intuitive selves. And that's why also it fell out of balance in the belly, and why we were attracted to get the chocolate with the sugar in it, and then the potential, that not potential, but the little bit that was still there of the the bacterial organisms that were in the reverse, and the little bit that's still here in the mind of so now what's coming through is I'm not good enough, because the emotional side of the OCD is trying to make everything just right on the outside, because we don't feel right with what is, because we don't feel right with ourselves. That's where we don't feel good enough. Also about the, you know, where we are insecure about our behavior and the decisions we made and what we did. Yeah, our actions. We're insecure about our actions, and then because we're also insecure, we come out of balance, and we do behave or act in ways that are out of line, because they're out of alignment, and that are not coming from inner guidance, and they are like then working against us and creating more imbalance. And it's this being caught in this loop of addiction, of seeking on the outside, not having No, not coming back into the remembering of the knowing of what is going on. And what really wants to happen is that we remember who we are here and now, and then receive our soul again and receive inner guidance. And then we are clear and make harmonious choices, aligned choices, the right choices, that we don't question them because they're good, they're right. Yes. And we get caught in the loop when we go about trying to fix it on the outside. The fixing on the outside, the realignment, comes when we come back to the truth of the matter. Yes. And then we don't reach for the chocolate, even though there may still be a lingering in the body of, oh, I kind of feel like having the chocolate, but I can already feel it now in the body. The shift has occurred through this awakening in consciousness, through this session. And so even if that were to arise like a physical craving, it doesn't have the power to actually make me fall into that crevice, to make me fall. It doesn't have the power to pull me down and make me consume it, or reach for it, buy it, get it, consume it, bring it in. Yes, yes. And now I actually feel what has come alive, what has been activated again is a craving for the good, like smoothie right now, like the good stuff, that which brings back into balance and nourishes everything that is in harmony. Yeah. And that's the immune system, of course. Then the immune system can take over, become, come more back into balance, into peak performance. And I have had this fibromyalgia thing. I've had it for, I don't know, like when I realized, long time teenager, I've already noticed this feeling in the belly and didn't know what it was and thought it was normal. And I know it comes and goes. It comes and goes. So the step that has been happening this morning is already, now I'm already healing. I'm feeling it now. It's already healing. Okay, so we're going to leave it at that. This was a really good session. Thank you so much. And I want to say I hope that I have inspired, been able to pass on this spark of knowing and inspiration and sound. Yes, and as beloved, as we share, we do. We do. As we share, we do. Yes. Come back into trusting yourself. You're not doing this for anyone because you're not doing this to get something. You're doing this out of love of sharing the truth. And it is sharing yourself, and it is the namaste, the sharing of, it is the empowering, the sounding of self, like the namaste. If you sound the self out, so you express that, it is what brings that forth, the self within another, by resonance. A resound, a reverberation. So as you receive and express that, you inspire the reception within others to receive themselves as well. And when you say you hope that you have done that, it is already a sand in the machinery, because by virtue of sharing your true self, it is done. And we have a hard time looking into the camera just because that's not how we connect. We connect through our hearts to whatever, whatever consciousness will come and share in this and receive this, or be open to it, because it's nothing coming in you from the outside. It is an inspiration from the inside through resonance. When you see this, yes, it cannot. This is not something that is putting itself onto others or pushing itself into others, or putting a layer onto others. That's not what this is. And so that's where your insecurity comes from, because where we are still coming from a place of the egoic mind, from a belief that is, however, based in illusion, when we are coming from that and we are expressing and sounding that, it has the potential to be taken on, and then enhancing, because it will only be taken on where there is a resonance, and that resonance will then come from that frequency, which will enhance that frequency. And that will be a frequency that is not anchored in flowing from directly from within, from our soul, from our truth. Okay, so why this is also taking so long, I still feel there is more, but we will just stop it now, and more will be shared later. So thank you so much for, if you're still here, and if you have been here, blessing is with you. Blessing is with you, because we share this field. We share this field of being, of this one being. And so blessing is with you.